Imagine for a moment stepping into a courtroom where the clash between tradition and innovation is so intense that its verdict could shape the destiny of the entire digital finance world. This isn't the plot of a legal thriller, it's the real-life drama unfolding right now between Ripple Labs and the United States Securities and Exchange Commission. The outcome of this battle doesn't just concern lawyers and executives, it has the power to influence billions, yes, billions, of dollars, affect the portfolios of countless investors, and establish the very future of cryptocurrency regulation in America and beyond. As the world watches, the question looms: will the decades-old financial watchdog finally find common ground with the fast-evolving world of digital money? Or is the industry bracing for yet another tempest that could redefine innovation and risk for years to come? To understand how we arrived at this historic crossroads, let's rewind to the closing days of the year 2020. In December, just as the world was grappling with the pandemic's economic upheaval, the SEC delivered a seismic shock to the crypto community by filing a lawsuit against Ripple Labs. The charge? The agency accused Ripple of raising more than $1.3 billion through what it called unregistered sales of its native token, XRP. For the SEC, this was a textbook violation of securities laws. Ripple, however, countered with fierce determination, arguing that XRP is not a security at all. Rather, it is a currency, a tool for payments and liquidity in a borderless digital world. While this may sound like legal hair-splitting, the implications of this distinction are enormous. If XRP is deemed a security, so could many other digital tokens, instantly placing dozens of cryptocurrencies in jeopardy and exposing their creators and users to legal risk. On the other hand, if Ripple prevails, it could finally bring clarity, legitimacy, and stability to an industry often compared to the Wild West, a financial frontier worth trillions in today's market. The aftershocks of the SEC's lawsuit were immediate and brutal. XRP, which had previously been one of the world's top digital currencies by market capitalization, saw its price plummet seemingly overnight. Investors watched in dismay as approximately $15 billion in value evaporated. Ripple itself was forced to spend more than $150 million on legal fees, a staggering sum even in Silicon Valley. Meanwhile, major banks, payment service providers, and fintech startups that had been closely following Ripple's groundbreaking cross-border payment solutions grew hesitant. Many quietly paused their partnerships or put ambitious pilot projects on ice, wary that any association with Ripple could draw regulatory scrutiny or even become a liability. As Linda Zhang of the Modern Money Initiative aptly put it, regulatory clarity is crucial for fostering innovation in the crypto space. Her words echo throughout both Silicon Valley and Wall Street, where the tension between innovation and oversight has never been more palpable. The uncertainty around Ripple's future became a cautionary tale for other crypto firms, many of which began lobbying for clearer rules or, in some cases, relocating their operations to friendlier jurisdictions overseas. But here's where the plot thickens. In the years following the initial lawsuit, attitudes at the SEC began to shift, albeit quietly and gradually. Ripple's leadership, including its executive chairman Chris Larsen, initiated a series of private meetings with senior regulators, including SEC Chair Paul Atkins. They sought not just a truce but a blueprint for the future, a way to bridge the gap between the regulator's mandate to protect investors and the transformative potential of blockchain technology. By March of the year 2025, after exhaustive negotiations and mounting public pressure, both sides hammered out a tentative agreement. The proposed deal would see Ripple pay the SEC a civil penalty of $50 million, a fraction of the original demand, and see the remaining $75 million returned to Ripple. This was a dramatic reduction from the initial penalty and a sign of just how far both sides were willing to compromise to put this exhausting chapter behind them. The latest joint motion to dissolve the existing injunction and release the $125 million civil penalty held in escrow was filed in a Manhattan federal court, signaling a rare moment of collaboration in a conflict that had previously seemed intractable. Yet, as with all great courtroom dramas, the story didn't end there. Legal experts quickly pointed out that an appeal was still pending. Former SEC official Mark Fagel commented on social media, "The whole point of this motion is the parties trying to avoid going forward with the appeal. If the courts refuse the motion, the clash could drag on for another year or even longer, casting a long shadow over the digital asset market and keeping investors, entrepreneurs, and policymakers on edge. So what's really at stake? More than just the fate of Ripple, the entire cryptocurrency industry, from established giants like Ethereum and Bitcoin to up-and-coming projects, is watching closely. The outcome could set a precedent for how digital assets are classified and regulated in the United States for years, or even decades to come. Let's break down the immediate and long-term consequences of this legal standoff. First, there's the financial impact. Ripple's legal expenses have already exceeded $150 million, an astronomical sum for any company, tech or otherwise. XRP holders, meanwhile, have collectively lost an estimated $15 billion since the lawsuit's announcement. These losses are not just numbers on a spreadsheet, they represent the dashed hopes, retirement dreams, and hard-earned savings of millions of ordinary people who believed in the promise of digital assets. Second, there's the chilling effect on innovation. While Ripple's technology reportedly continues to be tested by major banks and payment service providers worldwide, regulatory uncertainty has put a damper on real-world adoption. Many financial institutions have opted to wait and see, wary of being caught in the crosshairs of an ongoing legal dispute. The result? Delays in rolling out faster, cheaper, and more efficient payment solutions that could benefit consumers and businesses alike. As Linda Zhang emphasizes, without regulatory clarity, the next wave of financial innovation might never get off the ground. Third, there's the question of market confidence. Investors, both large and small, crave certainty. When the rules of the game are unclear, capital dries up, and new ventures struggle to attract the funding they need to scale. The protracted Ripple SEC saga has become a symbol of this broader uncertainty, discouraging some of the brightest minds in technology from entering the space and prompting others to seek friendlier regulatory environments in Europe, Asia, or the Middle East. It's worth noting that Ripple's legal struggle is not unique. The SEC has launched enforcement actions against a host of other crypto projects over the years, from initial coin offerings to decentralized finance protocols. Each case has added new layers of complexity to the debate over how, exactly, digital assets should be defined and regulated. The so-called Howey test, a legal standard dating back to the 1940s, has become the central point of contention, with both sides arguing over whether it can reasonably be applied to 21st-century blockchain technology. Legal scholars and industry veterans alike have weighed in on the broader significance of the Ripple case. Jeremy Hogan, a well-known attorney in the crypto community, has argued that the SEC's case against Ripple is exceptionally weak on the facts. He points to the agency's shifting positions over the years and the lack of clear guidance provided to the industry. On the other hand, some experts caution that unresolved questions, such as what exactly constitutes an investment contract in the digital age, could leave the door open for further lawsuits and regulatory crackdowns, not just against Ripple, but against dozens of other major projects. Let's explore three key scenarios for the future. First, if the joint motion for settlement is approved, it could mark the end of one of the longest and most expensive courtroom battles in the history of cryptocurrency. The immediate aftermath would likely be a surge in optimism across the digital asset market. Crypto companies, emboldened by the prospect of clearer rules, could move forward with launching new products, raising capital, and pursuing partnerships with traditional financial institutions. Bloomberg analyst Eric Balchunas has estimated that there is as much as an 85% chance that an XRP-based exchange-traded fund, essentially a regulated investment vehicle, could be approved in the coming year, provided that regulatory clarity is achieved. Such a move would open the door for mainstream investors to participate in the XRP ecosystem, further legitimizing the asset class. Second, if the settlement unravels and the appeal proceeds, the legal clouds could hover for another year or even longer. This scenario would mean continued uncertainty, with investors and companies suffering further billions in paper losses. Ripple's legal expenses would mount, and XRP holders could see additional volatility in token prices. The broader industry would likely remain in limbo, with regulatory ambiguity chilling new investment and dampening enthusiasm for blockchain adoption in the United States. It's important to remember that the Ripple SEC case is not happening in a vacuum. International regulators are also paying close attention. In the European Union, for example, the Markets in Crypto Assets Regulation, MiCA, is setting new standards for transparency, consumer protection, and oversight. Asian financial hubs like Singapore and Hong Kong are racing to attract blockchain startups with clear, business-friendly frameworks. If the United States falls behind in providing regulatory certainty, there's a real risk that the next generation of fintech giants will be built elsewhere, taking jobs, talent, and capital with them. So what does all of this mean for you, whether you're an investor, a developer, a policymaker, or someone simply curious about the future of money? For investors, the lesson is clear. Stay informed, be cautious, and never underestimate the impact of regulatory developments on the market. In crypto, prices can swing dramatically in a matter of hours based on a single court ruling or new regulatory action. Understanding the legal landscape is just as crucial as tracking price charts or reading white papers. Diversifying your portfolio, conducting thorough research, and consulting with financial professionals can help protect your assets in volatile times. If you're a developer or entrepreneur, the Ripple case is a powerful reminder that legal compliance and transparency are not optional. They are essential for long-term success. As Linda Zhang warns, companies that prioritize compliance and transparency stand to benefit if clear rules finally emerge. Building robust, know-your-customer and anti-money laundering systems, seeking legal counsel early, and engaging with regulators proactively can make the difference between breakthrough success and costly setbacks. For policymakers, the Ripple SEC saga highlights the urgent need for balanced, forward-thinking regulation. Miles Jennings from a 16Z Crypto cautions, the SEC's enforcement-first approach stifles growth and innovation. Meanwhile, Jake Chervinsky, Chief Policy Officer at the Blockchain Association, has argued that the SEC is exceeding its authority in regulating crypto assets. Kristen Smith, Executive Director of the Blockchain Association, adds, "Clear rules are needed to protect consumers and enable responsible innovation." Policymakers should listen to these voices and work to craft legislation that both safeguards investors and nurtures the next wave of technological breakthroughs. And for ordinary citizens, this case is a reminder that the rules governing digital money will affect how we save, spend, and invest in the future. The rise of cryptocurrencies and blockchain technology has already begun to transform everything from cross-border remittances to crowdfunding, from decentralized finance to digital identity. The choices we make now about how to regulate, invest in, and adopt these technologies will shape the financial landscape for generations to come. Let's not forget a crucial but often overlooked fact. Despite the legal turbulence, Ripple's technology is already being tested by some of the world's largest banks and payment providers. From Santander to SBI Holdings, financial institutions across Europe and Asia have explored Ripple's solutions for faster, cheaper international payments. In remittance-heavy economies like the Philippines and Mexico, pilot projects have demonstrated dramatic reductions in transaction times and fees. If regulatory clouds lift, Ripple could rapidly transition from a legal battleground to the backbone of a new, more efficient global payments network. There are also historical lessons to consider. In the early days of the internet, regulatory uncertainty and high-profile lawsuits threatened to stifle innovation. Yet with time, balanced rules emerged, enabling giants like Google, Amazon, and Facebook to thrive. The same could happen for crypto, if, and only if, policymakers embrace flexibility and foresight. The Ripple SEC case has already produced one unexpected outcome. It has united a broad coalition of technologists, legal scholars, consumer advocates, and even some traditional bankers around the need for reform. Industry groups like the Blockchain Association, major exchanges such as Coinbase, and leading venture capitalists have all called for a fresh approach to digital asset regulation. Their message is simple: America should lead, not lag, in the next era of financial innovation. So, as we look ahead, the stakes could hardly be higher. What happens in the coming months could define the next decade, or even the next century, of digital finance. Will the courts and regulators finally provide the clarity and consistency that entrepreneurs and investors crave? Or will ongoing legal battles keep the industry mired in uncertainty, ceding leadership to other regions? The answer for now is cautiously optimistic. The willingness of both Ripple and the SEC to seek settlement, combined with growing calls for legislative reform, signals a potential turning point. Yet, until a final agreement is signed, or Congress steps in with new laws, uncertainty remains the coin of the realm. Here's one more secret. Few outside the industry realize just how transformative blockchain-based payments could be. Imagine being able to send money across borders in seconds, for a fraction of the cost of today's wire transfers. Imagine small businesses in emerging markets accessing global customers without the friction of traditional banking. These are not distant dreams. They are real possibilities, if regulatory clarity can unleash the full potential of digital assets. In closing, the Ripple SX saga is more than a legal dispute. It's a test of how society will balance risk and reward, innovation and protection in the digital age. Whether you're an investor, a builder, or simply a curious observer, the outcome will shape your financial future. So stay tuned, keep asking questions, and if you found this video helpful, hit subscribe and share your thoughts in the comments below. Do you believe Ripple's settlement will spark a new era for crypto, or is more turbulence ahead? Let's